Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to this Saturday's Australasian Connect call. My name is Rachel Davey, and I have the privilege of taking this seat on behalf of Sharon Whiteman, and so her and Diana can go and have some valuable family time. But I actually get to be partnered with Garry Gnapp, the third party in the Australasian Connect trio, and as he is going to share with us today. So I want to introduce Garry to you. Garry is an entrepreneur who has been running his own award-winning business for nearly 40 years. As a professional skydiver, photographer, and businessman, Garry has travelled to 50 countries and made over 10,000 skydives. As well as being an independent Manatech associate for over 2 decades, he has been an avid fundraiser for a wide variety of social and environmental causes. Today, Garry will be diving deep into the realm of the benefits of owning and running a home-based business. He'll outline the art of claiming deductible business expenses, from office supplies to marketing costs, and learn strategies to keep more of your earnings. This presentation is a must for anyone seeking to legally maximise the tax benefits of owning a Manatech business, no matter if you're an established Manatechar or just starting out. Get ready to take notes and be on your first steps towards a tax-savvy success. So Garry, I'm going to go off screen. I'm going to hand over to you, and thank you again for your time today.
Okay, well, thank you for coming, everyone, and thank you, Rachel, for that great introduction. It's the first time I've done this presentation, just put this together because I think it's something that we really miss, and it's a kind of major sales point, really, in terms of getting people interested in our business, is the fact that it's so beneficial to have a business on the side from a tax point of view. And really, every employee should have a business on the side. It makes a lot of sense. And I hope to share today some of the reasons why. So, tax tips for home-based business owners. Now, just please understand, this is a disclaimer. The information that I'm going to be presenting today is intended for sort of general informational purposes only. And I'm not a certified accountant or a tax professional, and I definitely cannot guarantee the accuracy, completeness, or the relevance of the content I'm about to present. The reason for that is that every individual's tax situation is totally unique, and tax laws and regulations can vary depending on where you live, your personal circumstances. And so the information should not be construed as any kind of professional tax advice or guidance. So now we've got that sorted out, I'll continue. So my name's Garry Gnapp, and in 1990, I started the Australian National Skydiving Centre, and that was very successful. We won tourism awards. We were finalists in the Telstra Small Business of the Year award. But I worked very, very hard for what I now realise is a limited income, and it totally relied on the weather. Had a lot of deadlines, huge overheads, and pretty constant stress, really. But a lady that worked for me at the skydiving centre, I have an honours degree in marketing and business, and she said to me, "Have you ever heard of network marketing?" And I said no, but I'm very open-minded. I wanted to look into it, so I looked into it, and it really, really opened my eyes, and I started to realise why I was working very long hours and working very, very hard. So one of the things that happened in that time of researching network marketing is that I came across the book by Robert Kiyosaki called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And in that, one of the concepts was the cash flow quadrant. And I really mean it when I say this actually changed my life, reading this book. And if you haven't read it, I encourage you to get a copy. What Robert said is that all of us earn our income from one or more of the following 4 quadrants. And the first quadrant is the E quadrant. And that's where your employee, and that's the vast majority of people. And when you're in this quadrant, earning your income, you're exchanging your time for money. You'd usually work about 40 to 50 hours a week. And because you are exchanging your time for money, there's a very limited income. There's only so many hours in a week that you can actually work. And you actually get paid after your income tax has been taken from you. So there's really no tax benefits, and you get told what to do every day. So a lot of people like me who don't like being told what to do, so they might become self-employed in some way or own a small business. And there's many types of small businesses like this, and many types of people who are self-employed: professionals, plumbers, electricians, lawyers, accountants, cafe owners, all running small businesses. But the problem is they're still, on the whole, exchanging time for money. And the difference is that you're usually working twice as long as if you were an employee, where you can just go home, put your feet up and watch the TV all night. There's a limited income because, again, a lot of the time, unless you're doing that work, you're not going to be paid. There are some tax benefits to that, but not as many as the right side of the quadrant. On the right side of the quadrant, we've got the B quadrant, and that's a business, and it's generally a system that's earning you money that you're separated from. And it's a way of creating a residual income, or one that continues to pay you on a long-term basis, regardless of your level of work. So that enables you to leverage your time, duplicate your effort, and that opens the door to unlimited income and a lot of tax benefits that we're going to be covering as we move through the presentation. And that changes your lifestyle. Now, I realized that my skydiving business was well and truly in the S quadrant. And it was when I started reading into that I started deciding that I really needed to move over into the B quadrant. The last quadrant is the I quadrant, and that's where your money makes money for you, leveraging your money. Of course, one of the problems with that is you have to have the money in the first place. There's, again, a lot of tax benefits. Mainly do that through things like stocks and shares, rental properties, all that sort of thing. So the question is, where are you? And if you want financial freedom, it just can't be done in that E quadrant, because you're exchanging time for money. The S quadrant, pretty much the same, except you work longer hours. And what Robert says is that for the ordinary person, you should find a way to get into that business quadrant, where the business is actually making you money. And then from the money that you make in the B quadrant, you can then start playing around in that investment I quadrant. Consider where you are. You could be making money from a few quadrants at the same time, but it's definitely at least one of them. So I started to look into that, and I made a decision to change my lifestyle. Just didn't want to keep working those long hours. And it took a few years, but the last 20 years have been amazing. And now we live the life of our dreams. We do whatever we like every day and run our global business from our solar powered sustainable home in the middle of nowhere. We can't see a single house from our place. We grow all our own veggies and fruit, and that was our dream lifestyle. I managed to achieve that. And I don't know what your dream lifestyle is, but if you're looking for a home-based business that can give you that lifestyle, you're definitely in the right place today. Start thinking about your ideal lifestyle. Now, you may have done this if you've been in Manatech a while, then certainly the training's there to help you establish these important things. If you're new to the industry, then very, very important right from the get-go to establish your why. My why was simply that I was working very, very long hours, 7 days a week, had enormous overheads, and To be honest, I got fed up with employing people. It was a bit like running an adult daycare centre. So my why was to get time freedom. It wasn't so much money freedom, it was much more about time. So it's about setting a clear vision. I really recommend that you write down your goals and, get juicy about it. Think about how you want your lifestyle to be in the next sort of 5 to 10 years. That's what I did. But understand this, the government actually wants you to own a business. It's important then that you treat it like a business and not a hobby in order to take advantage of the things that the government's going to incentivize you with. There's different business models that can get you into business. Things like being a sole trader, you could be a franchise, a partnership, an internet e-commerce business, the gig economy as well today. Many people are doing lots of businesses on the side. You could be a proprietary limited company. That's been my choice, and I've had the same proprietary limited company for 40 years now, which has morphed into different things. I can run different businesses under the same name, that sort of thing. But we'll talk about that a bit more later. In the meantime, I think it's really important for us to take a deeper look into these business models, because a franchise, it's not the greatest business. You're going to have a lot of money up front. You're going to be probably working in that S quadrant. So you're going to be working pretty hard, managing people. Partnerships, well, there's obviously some very successful partnerships that have happened in the world. I personally don't like it. And I know a lot of people that have come unstuck in partnerships. It's great at the beginning, but you've got to maintain that for a long time. Internet, e-commerce, things that are not really separating you from your earning of your income. In the gig economy, being an Uber driver, you've got to be driving your car. You've got to be doing the job and again, exchanging time for money. Now, the deeper you look, and Robert Kiyosaki really turned me on to this, and the lady that worked for me at the skydiving center, is that another business model is the network marketing model and home-based business. And the deeper you look into this, the rosier it gets. And I think it's very difficult to find a business model that is as effective as a network marketing home-based business. And of course, the world's very much changed now. A lot of people do work from home, and some of them do their job from home. So they're still exchanging time for money. The difference is network marketing can indeed set you free. The government wants you to own a business. What do I mean about that? They offer many tax benefits and as an incentive for you to run your own business. And then it's the business that's earning the revenue, and you become separated from the earning of that revenue. And then the business pays tax on the net after expenses. So that's a key thing here. So what are some of the home business tax deductions that you can legally claim? And everything I'm talking about here is about being legal. We're not talking about tax avoidance. We're talking about tax minimization. Obviously, if you're working from home, you've got a home-based business. Wherever you're working from, you generally have some kind of home office. A big difference between whether you're renting and whether you're an owner of that property. Now, if you're renting, obviously you're going to be asking your accountant. We'll come on to talking about that a bit later, but it's something that you can perhaps offset some of the, let's say, a room in the house that you're renting for an office space. If you're an owner, it's very important to consider the potential capital gains tax when you come to sell. It's my decision that I don't offset any of my house or property against my business, because whilst you can get a tax benefit in the short term, it might come back to bite you when they clobber you for a percentage of any capital gains down the track. Again, something that you're going to discuss with your tax professional or accountant. But certainly home office expenses, office supplies, computer, your laptop, your mobile phone, any internet costs, office furniture, printer, all these things are things that generally people, even if they're just in a job, if they're an employee in the E quadrant, they still have all these things, but they just haven't educated themselves to the extent that they can offset them against tax. Now, when you have a home business, all these things become tax deductible. Marketing expenses, generally in business, it's called the cost of sales, the cost of doing business. That can include things like advertising, your mobile phone charges, your internet costs, all your consumables, any promotions, and particularly in our business, sample products. So it's possible to buy your products through the business and give them away to people as samples. Millions of businesses do that. That's the way that they get their customers, is by giving sample products to people. That can be a tax deduction in this case. And again, these are expenses that most employees have as well. They just can't offset them against their tax, which has already been taken from them before they even get their paycheck. Now, vehicles, if you have a home registered business properly set up, then you are in business. You're selling goods and services. Whenever I'm in my car, I'm on my way to doing business. I'm not commuting. It's not routine. And therefore, I can offset some, if not all, of my running expenses and maintenance. It pays to not be greedy. So obviously, if you are not going somewhere on business, then you don't claim that. And that's why it's really, really important to keep a logbook. I've logged all my journeys for many years. I've never actually had anyone look at those logbooks, but they're there in case I ever need them. Travel expenses. Now, in our business, of course, we attend conferences, we're visiting prospects, we're attending expos, we can be making presentations, we can be doing team training of our team, dropping off flyers, attending training and being trained. These are all things that we do as a business that are tax deductible. Believe it or not, it's a pretty, well, it's a sort of secret, really. People don't really know this. I've found a lot of people, even in business, don't understand. But travel allowances available from the Australian Tax Office. So they have a formula which has all the different places in Australia, and they can give you a tax deductible amount per day depending on your location. And that means that, let's say you go off down to Melbourne, or you travel to another city in order to do a presentation or meet a prospect, there's a set figure that is given to you as an allowance that you can offset against your tax. And there was a time when I was traveling a great deal where I made a lot of use of this, and it's pretty much there, I think, for the politicians. The politicians use this to a great degree because they're traveling a lot, and they can then use these tax deductions, and they're quite large. You'd be surprised. And remember that your business operates in over 26 countries. So get your boarding pass ready. You can do traveling as part of your business. And it's quite amazing. Look at those countries that Manatech's already open in, and your business is open. You can do business completely legally in all of these countries. And guess what? That means that you can travel to them. And as long as you're doing some kind of business when you're on that journey, I can give you an example. A few years ago, when I went to one of the incentives that I won with Manatech, we went off to Mexico afterwards. And that was just after Mexico had opened. Particularly when countries open, it's a great time. But anyway, if you visit any of these countries, you can do business there and offset some of your expenses. It's about getting organized. And I say to everyone, always be ready for an audit. You can be audited at any time by the tax office. And in 40 years of running my business, I have not been audited, but I'm ready. And if they come round, I can show them all my paperwork and be quite confident that I've done everything right. And that's all a case of systemizing things. Systemize. It helps to use accounting software. There's plenty of different softwares on the market. And it's important to be consistent and stay up to date. I don't actually like doing my accounts. I just don't like doing it. But what I don't want to have happen, and what I will avoid at all costs, is getting to the end of the year and going, oh my God, I haven't done any of my accounts. I've got this shoebox here full of receipts. I can't remember what half of them are. And it's just a mess. And it turns your accounting at the end of the year into a bit of a nightmare. Now, you can avoid all that by just being consistent and staying up to date. By doing that, you will just take away so much stress. And I recommend that you find an accountant. If you can find an accountant who specializes in home businesses, or better still, network marketing, so much the better, because they just understand the tax law as it refers to you so much better. And having an accountant prepare your books and sign them off can definitely reduce the chance of an audit. Now, as a business owner, you are now paying tax on the net after your expenses relating to that business. And what you have to do in order to do that is to prove that it's not just a hobby and you're not ripping off the tax department. You actually intend to run a business to make a profit, and it's all above board. How do you do that? Well, the first thing that you could do, these are all things that I've done, you can get yourself an ABN number, and you should have an ABN number if you're in business. You could register a business name. You can register a business, and that's what I've done. I have a proprietary limited company. It's called Activate, and it's actually Activate that is the registered independent Manatech associate. So it's my business that's registered to partner with Manatech. Once you've done things like that, you can go ahead and spend on expenses that are legally deductible. And what's really important when you start a business, and this is certainly the case with most businesses, is that you make a loss. And in my case with the skydiving center, I was making big losses for the first 2 or 3 years. That's when you've got all these massive overheads, but you're building up the clientele until eventually in the conventional business, you might break even in a couple of years. But all those losses are carried forward. So even when you start making profits, those losses can be offset against them when you do your tax. And I recommend that you always have a day planner. And I have my day planners and diaries on my shelf here going back decades. And the reason I keep them is because I make a note of everything, where I go, who I saw. I haven't looked at most of them for many times, but every now and then you think, oh, what did I met this person years ago, and they just crop up in your head for some reason. I can go back and find them in my diaries. And if I'm ever audited, I can show the auditors my diaries going back years, and they will show all my appointments. It's a day planner that's specific for your business. Another thing that you have to do for the tax office to believe that you're running a genuine business is demonstrate expertise. And we do that in network marketing. Here you are now, right now, getting training. You're learning from experts. And it's a great idea to find a mentor. And I reckon working your business consistently and regularly is the way to go. It's much, much better to do 45 minutes a day than, say, just 1 day a month. Now, some people are full-time, some people are part-time, some people are no time. You can still use the business to benefit tax-wise, but I think just being consistent and having something in your diary that you made phone calls, you went somewhere, is a great idea. And that means using your day planner and keeping in mind that one of the main reasons for that day planner is in case you're ever audited. Keep good records, and it's a great idea to have a written business plan. We had Ty Tribble on talking about using AI to help you in your business, and AI is absolutely great for doing things like writing a business plan. And what that business plan needs to do and show is evidence that you intend to make a profit. So it would include things like projected expenses, your projected income, certainly your projected losses in the short term. And it's important to keep all those records really, really well. Now, credit cards, often when I talk about using credit cards, people say, oh no, I've torn them up, I cut them all up and threw them away, I got so much into trouble with them. And that's a really obvious indication to me that they don't really understand how good a credit card can be when you're running a business. I certainly love my credit card, but I've got the Garry Gnapp 10 rules of credit card use that I'm going to share with you now. And this is really important because if you follow these rules to the letter, your credit card can pretty much fund and finance your business and give you some really good benefits. So the 10 rules are, firstly, read the small print. Some of these credit cards have in the small print some amazingly tight rules that can really get you into trouble if you break them. So definitely read the small print. And I suggest having one at least that you just use for your business only. And that's useful because it almost becomes an accounting system, if you like. So you can look at your credit bill and it's not messed up with all your other personal stuff. You've got a credit card. The banks will give you a credit card, no problem. And just use it for business only and put all your business expenses through it. Every single expense I have to do with my business goes through my credit card. Now, this is really interesting because you can use it to buy things that you can turn back into profit, because generally you have an interest-free period of up to 55 days. So if you plan your purchases properly, you can take advantage of that maximum interest-free period. I can give you some really interesting examples. Back when I had the skydiving center, I've obviously had massive bills, particularly fuel bills and things like that. Now, whilst I might have the money sitting there in the bank, I'd still put all those bills through on my credit card, even though I'm going to pay it off at the end of the month, because I've now got an interest-free period that I can take advantage of, and I can actually use that fuel to generate my income from doing the skydives and the tandem jumps before I've actually had to pay for it. So I've turned that money into income before it actually costs me anything. And be a deadbeat. I actually do know someone who worked in the industry, and that's how I found out that they call people like me deadbeats. And it's their term for people who pay off their credit card in full every single month. That way you pay no interest. So they're giving you that money for the month or even a bit longer if you're clever with how you make the payments. But if you have a large balance, my recommendation is to pay it off as quickly as possible. You're not using your credit card to its maximum advantage, and never pay less than the minimum payment. If you do that, in the small print there, it can say that if you pay less than the minimum payment, your interest rate's going to go up to 25%. I mean, there's some insane figures in that small print there. But the fact is if you're disciplined, and you pay it off every single month like I do. I mean, I'd be physically sick if I missed my credit card payment and paid any interest at all to the bank. So I'm disciplined. Every single month it gets paid off in full. And guess what? They've still given me the reward points. You can get credit cards that have got no limits on them if you're wealthy enough. But let's say you could buy a car through it and pay it off the next month. You're going to get tens of thousands of reward points that you can enjoy with all sorts of different things. So the reward points are a great way of even getting back in front of the banks instead of you paying them. another quick disclaimer. So before making any decisions based on the information that I'm providing you, I really strongly recommend that you consult with a qualified professional or an accountant. Everyone's situation is different, and a professional can assess your own situation and give you personalized advice, and that then matches in to show that you're compliant with the most current tax laws. I've had my accountant for a couple of decades, so I have a great relationship with him. If I've got any questions, I can give him a quick call and say, look, I've got to do this, how do you recommend that I do it? And he'll tell me. As you can see, there are a lot of things that you can do to offset your tax, and it's about being disciplined. It's about keeping all your receipts. It just makes me laugh sometimes when I go and pay for my petrol and it goes on the credit card and the person next to me pays cash for their fuel, and the person says, do you want a receipt? And they go, no. You know, that person does not have financial education. And you can see it all around you, and generally they would be, you know, an employee. So it's a really important understanding and education that comes with doing this business to make the maximum possible advantage of it. So congratulations on taking the first steps towards becoming a tax savvy home business owner. And I really hope that these tips will help you navigate a little bit through the complex world of taxes. And remember, keep your accurate records, consult with your tax professional whenever you have any questions, so you're not putting out fires later. And thank you. Enjoy your tax savvy future. So I hand back to you now, Rachel.
Wow, Garry, thank you so much for that. I think we're all just in awe, like looking down. I've made notes down here as well, and I have totally learned something today. And I'm just watching the chat scroll up beside me with lots of thank you there. But throughout the presentation, he did say to get a mentor or, you know, attend trainings and, you know, become that tax savvy, educated, home-based business owner. Helpful, absolutely amazing, Garry. Thanks, Kim. The thanks is just amazing there. Great to see you here, Paul. Great session, Garry says. Very taxing in a very good way. Love it, Paul. Garry, again, thank you for an amazing presentation. We want to be tax savvy Manatechers because we have such a great message to share with the world. So I wish everybody a lovely weekend. Thank you for letting me host the call with you all today. Have a great Saturday. Bye for now.
Bye for now.